So to start this shoulder mobility sequence, find a nice standing posture with your feet lined up under your front hip bones and a nice length through your spine. So imagine a helium balloon lifting you out the top back of your skull. Your shoulders are resting down on your rib cage. And just start to roll one shoulder up and back and then the other. Make sure that you're not only lifting the shoulder but also actively drawing it down. So you're not just letting it fall down, you're pulling it down and feeling the muscles on your back pulling the shoulder down. Now start to look at that shoulder as you go. Pulling the shoulder down behind you, turning through the rib cage. Really turn the spine as well as move the shoulder. One last one. And now put the backs of your hands together in front of you. You could bend your knees a little bit and just let your upper back round a bit. And then open the hands, turn the palms back and lift the breastbone and spread the hands wide. So backs of the hands together, get a little bit of roundness. And turn the hands back and arch the back a little bit. Rounding, reaching the knuckles together, opening the hands back and lifting the chest. Now let's add some angles to that. So bring the hands together in front to one side of your body and then open back square. And to the other side of your body in front and open back square. One more to each side like that. I'm kind of bending my knees as I round and then straightening as I open, but it doesn't really matter. And now come together in front and now open and turn to the side. And in front and open to the other side. One more to each side like this. And come back to the center. Lift one arm up. I'll just move back so you can see me a little bit better. Side bend over. Get a nice stretch through that side. Send the breath into the open side. And then come back. Send the breath into the other side. And return. One more to each side like that. And then we'll take it to the floor. Come into all fours with the hands under the shoulders, the knees under the hips. Spread your fingers out wide so you're really making contact with the floor. Be in a neutral spine, so you've got your sitting bones open, you've got your ribs slightly drawn in, the back of the neck is long, and you've got as much length as you can manage between your tailbone and the crown of your head. And we're just going to slide the shoulder blades on the rib cage. So let your shoulders slide towards each other, your shoulder blades, and your breastbone is dropping down between your arms. And then press into your hands and feel your shoulder blades widen and wrap around your rib cage. You're going to let the shoulder blades slide towards each other and then press them wide. Let's do two more like that, sliding together, pressing wide, and one last one. And leave the shoulder blades wide. Rotate the crease of the elbow forward. Keep your bum where it is, don't let it move back. You're going to bend both elbows in the tricep, push up and push into your hands and come back up. Try and fold at the hip rather than rounding the spine. If you feel like you're really poking your face forward, you can let your head hang. You don't want to be reaching your face forward as you do this. Bend through the elbows and push up. You should feel your triceps working here. Let's do three more. Remember, don't let your bum move back. That's the cheating. I don't know if that was two or three, so let's do one last one. And you're done with those. Walk your hands forward, leave your bum up in the air. Let your forehead rest down on the mat. And get a nice stretch around your shoulders here. Walk your fingers away as much as you need to. Nice big breath into the ribs. And then walk yourself back. This time come down onto your forearms. Turn your hands over, spread your fingers out. Try and roll your thumb all the way down onto the mat. So you've got all four fingers spread out and your thumb, and they're all fingernails touching down, wrists are down. If that feels okay, push your bum back so your shoulders come back. Let your head hang and just hold this stretch. Breathe into the stretch. Hold the thumb down. Don't let it roll off the floor. And then release that, come out of there, give your hands a little bit of a shake. And then come down onto your forearms, clasping your hands. Push your elbows into the mat so you feel your shoulder blades wrap around your rib cage. The back of the neck is long. Step back with one foot and then the other. Lower your hips and come into a plank on your elbows. If this feels too much for you, you can be down on your knees, but make sure you then lower the pelvis a little bit so that you're in a straight line. So holding this, keep breathing, don't hold your breath. Make sure you're not lifting your bottom up into the air and folding at the hip. You want to be one long straight line. Let's hold for 2 more breaths. 1 more breath. And then step down with one knee and then the other. You make your knees wider than your hips and just drop down into child's pose. For this next bit, you need something to pull on. So the ideal thing is a Dynaband, one of the stretchy bands. If you don't have that, you can use a belt or even a tie, something like that. It doesn't have to be stretchy, and I'll show you those, how you would use those as you go along. Wrap your band or your tie over your feet, and then come right on top of your sitting bones. You want to make sure you're not rolled back off your sitting bones. You should feel them, that you're right up on the points of those. If you can't do that with your legs straight, then bend your knees up. So keep your knees bent the whole time if you need to. If you can, straighten your legs out, that's great. Hold onto your band with both hands, the palms are facing each other. You're keeping the back nice and long. The ribs are in, you've got that helium balloon lifting you tall out the top back of your skull, and you're just pulling your ribs, your elbows in towards your ribs, and release back. Just pulling and releasing. If you have your Dynaband, keep going with that. If you're using something non-stretchy, what you would do is find a point, slide back until your hands are in this position with your elbows under your shoulders, and then just hold the pull with your arms. So you're not moving in and out, you're just holding a static pull. Make sure you don't get tension up into your neck. With a static position, that's more likely to happen, so make sure you're really pulling from the arms and the back. Don't know how many you've done if you're one of the people pulling on a Dynaband, but let's just do a couple more. Good. Now you're going to change position on your band, make it a little bit looser, turn your palms to face the floor. Make sure you keep a flat wrist. So you don't want to have folded your wrist down or folded it back. Keep the arms quite low, and then you're just pulling straight back and releasing. So both arms pull to the back, and you want to be pulling from the back of your body here. You don't want to be feeling this up in your shoulders. So keep the shoulders down, keep the wrists flat, and pull with straight arms out to the side. If you only have a tie or a belt, just find a static position here where you feel some work in the back of the arm and the back of the shoulder, and hold. Just do a couple more here. And then we're going to change our position. So grabbing the band with one hand, and then you're going to, so you're holding both bands with one hand, you're going to pull into your ribs and turn and look over your shoulder. Turn to the side of the hand that's pulling. Some of us tend to turn the wrong way, so make sure you are turning with the arm that's doing the work. Keep going with that. If you only have a static thing, a belt or something, you'll want to slide quite far back. Find the rotated position with the pull, and then just hold that. Okay, it's plenty. Let's do the other side. So holding on, if you've got a Dynaband quite close, if you've got a belt or something much further away, and then pulling and turning and looking over the shoulder of the working arm. Remember, you're staying up nice and tall, right on top of your sitting bones. Knees are bent if you need them to be. Let's do one last one on this side. And release there. Now we're going to rotate the spine. So if you have a little block or a book or a little squishy ball or something, you can put it between your knees, which gives you something to anchor yourself on. If you don't have that, it doesn't matter, just have your knees together. And then slide your bottom arm forward and then pull the shoulder forward so your head can come down easily onto the mat. If your head is uncomfortable here, put a book or something under your head. But make sure you've pulled that shoulder forward, which has already started to turn your spine. Just check that your ribs aren't pushed up. So the ribs are connected. Lift your top hand, point to the ceiling, soften the elbow, look at your hand, and you're rotating your ribs away from your pelvis. So glue your knees together, glue them down. I'm even squeezing a little bit on my block. Try not to have the knees slide away from each other. And don't worry about your hand getting to the floor or your arm getting to the floor. You're thinking about your shoulder blade getting to the floor and the rib rotating away from the pelvis. That's your goal here. With each exhalation, let yourself relax down into that rotation. And just hold that. Now take your thumb and rotate it towards the floor. And then you're going to do a little arc with your arm up, keeping your thumb pointing to the floor. So your hand comes level with your shoulder, and then it arcs up overhead. Hopefully you're feeling a nice stretch around your shoulder, chest area. You may have one sticky spot, so pause there and just hang out and let it stretch. Just take a couple of breaths there. And then bring that hand back in and roll yourself around, and we'll do the other side. Sorry to turn my back to you. Actually, maybe I will. No, because then you'll see my hand. So the knees are anchored. You're pulling the bottom shoulder forward, so you've got a bit of a turn. Your hand is pointing up to the ceiling with the elbow soft. Keep your knees glued together. Keep your pelvis still. Keep the ribs in. Don't let them pop up. And rotate your shoulder blade towards the floor. Looking to your hand. And remember, if your head feels uncomfortable, just stick it up on a little book or a block or something like that. Make sure you're not arching the ribs up. You're trying to keep them down. You're gluing your knees together. You're keeping the pelvis from rotating back. If you're not feeling any stretch, you've probably let your pelvis come with you. So keep the pelvis vertical. And now you can't see my thumb. Now turn your thumb towards the floor. And keeping your stretch, you're just going to rotate. Doesn't matter if you're not touching the floor. You want your arms supported from the back of your body. If you have a sticky spot, just hang out there, keeping the thumb rotated. And if your hand is way up here in the air, it's totally fine. Don't worry about it. That's just your particular tightness. And just a couple more breaths here. And then bring that hand back in and just roll onto your back and let everything settle.